So in this lesson, we're going to talk about how we're going to position our key light. And there's a lot of ways to determine the lighting on your character. You can do it early on or later on in the process, but for this lesson, we're going to talk about starting from the very beginning. So let's jump into lighting. I like this kind of warm background versus the dark blue. I think this kind of helps feel more like vintage kind of 60s retro kind of vibe that I wanted to go for. The white on the panda, it feels a little cool, which seemed fine on a darker background, but now on this, it just feels a little off. So I am going to have my white fur selected here. And I'm just gonna warm it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go to Image, Adjustments, Color Balance. I'm gonna add some yellow in there, maybe a little bit of red. I think just some yellow. Maybe even a little green to neutralize it. Yeah, see that? This feels much better. Now that we're done with all this flatting, we are going to figure out lighting. Sometimes I like to kind of paint a sphere, have it like a continuous reminder of the light direction. It is a nice reminder. As you're working on little details, you get into the zone. My ambient cool light is actually coming from this side, so that needs to be a cooler color. My object's on this side. My warmer light needs to be on this side. My shadow's down here. So all of that stuff just helps you realize where everything is. To figure out lighting, there's a cool little trick that I like to do, and what I do is, so I've already created adjustment, layers, and light. So I titled my group Adjustment Layers Light, because we're going to use adjustment layers to create light. Here I've already decided that this is the direction. But I'm going to show you a way that you can kind of play around with different light setups once you're at this stage to figure out if you want the light coming from up top, if you want it this way, if you want it from here. I'm going to show you a quick way to kind of look at different options. So creating this adjustment layers light folder or group, we're going to add a new adjustment layer, and we're going to do levels first. And we're going to drop it in there. I want you to remember that at this point, it's not super important for it to be perfect. It's really just to get the idea of what the direction of the light is going to be for your character. So don't worry about all the little details, just to get a broad idea of where the direction of the light is coming from, okay? All right, let's get back to it. We have levels in there, and we bumped it up quite a bit, so really brighten up the scene. So turned off and turned on. With my light setup, I have a warm light. We're going to drop in color balance. We're going to warm everything up. So maybe something like that more or less is what my light would end up being. Because my light source is a warm light, I've warmed everything up. If your light source was a cool light, like a bluish light or just something else, then you would just, instead of warming it up, you would just make everything kind of cool like this. I'm going to close that, and then holding the Alt key down or Option key, I'm going to click on this mask. And when you do that, it's going to black everything out. All of the adjustments are completely hidden now. To figure out this light setup, I am going to just brush it in. And in doing that, you're revealing adjustment layers. So now you're adding light without having to paint everything. Don't worry about masking anything or this being perfect. You're not going to use this. This is just a quick way to figure out where you want the direction of the light without having to paint everything over and over again. This is just a very quick way. The way I'm kind of painting this, it's almost indicating that the light is coming from up here. This doesn't show up because these are like black, so you would have to bump that up. So if you're like, oh, okay, well that's fine, but you know, I don't think I want to do that, then you just erase all that away. For my setup, the way I have it, it's going to be coming from this side, so I would have all of this. This would probably cast a shadow here because my light is coming from here, so the nose would probably cast a little shadow there. And then this would be completely in the light. So you just kind of erase and add, erase and add, erase and add, and just keep doing that. And then once you have this done, if you're like, man, I wonder what this would look like if it was a cool light, or if it was warmer, you could play around with that, or you can change again the temperature of the light. And so this is just a quick way to figure that out without having to paint everything from scratch. Okay, so now that we've figured out the key light, remember that figuring this out early on, it's really helpful because now you understand where all of your shadows are going to land, all your highlights are going to be. This is one of the key elements to really helping yourself be more efficient. You already know where everything is, where all the light and shadows are going to land, so it helps you kind of move along. So in the next lesson, we'll talk about values and color, and we'll start specifically with the fur. This is very important because what we're going to do is we're going to do it in different phases. So I'm going to start with doing a first pass, and then in the second pass, I'll kind of go into more detail and adding more texture and more volume to that character. So we'll do that in the next lesson. All day, keep the lights on.